Oh, hey, y'all. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Adobe Live. How are you guys doing today? Well, I hope. Bliss, it's good to see you. I see Andres in the chat. Jack Watson, the one and only. Jack, you are shining this week. Let me just say that you are doing an excellent job. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being such a wonderful host here on Adobe Live. It's great to see you in the schedule. Christelle, welcome in. Sean, General Kenobi, hello there. It's good to see all of you folks. Thank you for popping in, hanging out after the Creative Challenge. My name is VooDoo Val. To all of you new folks who maybe are unfamiliar with Adobe Live or this nifty show we're doing today. And I'm going to get into a little bit about what the show is. It's called Graphic Glow Up. There's a lot of fancy stuff going on today. But first, if you are over on the YouTube channel, please come over to behance.net/live because that is where I am going to be reading the chat. There are a whole bunch of really awesome people here over on Behance today, and I would love if you were added to the chat so that I can read your comments, answer any questions, and just hang out with you. Anastasia, welcome in. Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday. Frank, welcome in. Monica. Also, Frank, is your name just Frank? Or have I been fancying up your name this whole time and it's not Frank? Because I've been saying Frank. I've realized that, but then I heard somebody call you Frank on another stream, so please let me know if I've been adding some finesse to your name this whole time that isn't necessary. I would love to know. Wipe your feet before joining Behance, though. It's a clean place. It's a clean place here, folks. It is. Frankly, we don't know. We don't know what his name is. Alright, so what is Graphic Glow Up? So Graphic Glow Up is a show where you can come to kind of get more, I would say, comfortable and more familiar with all of Adobe's awesome resource sites, things like Adobe Stock, Adobe Color, Adobe Fonts, all that good stuff. And every episode, every week, I should say, with 2 episodes, we choose at least one different asset from one of Adobe's resource websites, and we use that to design a project. And this week is Magical Packaging Design, Operation Magical Packaging Design, aka Dat Loot Dough, because we are designing a package graphic, but we are designing an item that might be seen in a video game inventory. I'm trying to spice up the packaging design for you guys, trying to make it fun, trying to make it interesting, and I'm going to dive into what we did yesterday, but first I want to highlight some of the things that we like to make sure we do here on Graphic Glow Up. So yesterday, if I pop over here, yesterday I made some goals for myself. There are tons of spelling errors in this. I apologize. In fact, I just noticed I spelled work with an M. It's the cool new way, you know. But yesterday I set out some goals for myself, and if you folks would like to download this goals page, we can get a link in the chat that will show you where you can go for that. But I created this just to help you folks if you need some support here in this area with a visual representation of the goals you have for your project. So if you're going to be working on something along with me, or if you want to use this for your own personal projects, whatever you'd like to use it for, you can, and set out some goals. And you don't have to fill out every single portion of this, but it's just a way to kind of write down at the beginning of your project your professional, personal, and future goals, so that you can kind of come back and look back at what you set out for yourself to do. And these are things that you can achieve, that you can accomplish and complete without necessarily completing a project 100%. One of the main goals of this show is to show you folks, or get you more comfortable with being confident in your work and appreciating the work that you do, rather it ends in a perfect 100% finished case study for Behance. Because I don't know about you, but I always feel like I didn't do enough work at all, and I failed if I don't have something to post on Instagram at the end of the day, and that's simply not true. So we're going to work on that together. My goals for this week is to make a design that will make people laugh. I wanted to invoke a very specific emotional reaction in anyone who looks at my project. I wanted to work with a limited palette because I'm not very good at that. I had a client gig very early on in my creative career that the client asked me to use a limited palette and sent me like 5 colors, and I didn't do so well. And I've never really done that again up until like maybe this past year, and I need some practice with it. So we're working with a limited palette, and then future goal is just I want to become more comfortable using assigned colors. So when people approach me for work and I have to use specific colors, I use the colors, but I feel like I don't use them with confidence, and then my project is maybe not as clean as it could be. So I'm trying to get into the habit of this to kind of develop this skill moving into the future of my own creative path. So those are my goals that I set up, and I think we're on target. But before we jump into the work, I also want to show off the achievements. So we are going to be having an award ceremony of sorts this morning. So I have this achievements page, which you can also download, and you have little badges for each of 5 categories: illustration, graphic design, animation, video editing, and presentation. If you want to change what some of these say or move things around, feel free to do whatever you want with the file. I just like to work in these areas, so that's what mine says, and this is probably the kind of work we're going to be doing moving into the future with this show. And at the end of every week, I award myself achievement points based on the things that I've done, and it doesn't need to be based on, as I said, finishing something perfectly and having a portfolio piece. It can be things like, you know, I'm using a limited palette and I think I'm doing a good job thus far, so I'll probably award myself some points to presentation or illustration for that. I've made a mock-up for you folks, which I'm going to show you, so I'll probably get a point into graphic design and presentation again, and things like that. Let's just have a visual representation of the things we're achieving, the progress we're making, and get out of the habit of hating on ourselves if we don't have what we think other people expect from us. Does that make sense? Okay, we're trying to build confidence here, okay? We're trying to be positive about the work we do. And I've got a tip up for you at the bottom here that says you deserve to earn points when you try things for the first time and or when you create something you are proud of. Get into the habit of appreciating the little things, moments in which you grow, not just complete. That is the name of the game here, okay? So what did we do yesterday? As I said, we were working on packaging design, and we're working on something that might make people laugh, something that could belong in a video game inventory. So I give you lamb chops in a box because that's where they come from. All lamb chops are from boxes that look like cereal boxes. And these are concepts. These are like sketch concepts that we created yesterday out of some assets we found on Adobe Stock and some colors we found from Adobe Color. And I just kind of sketched out and concepted out these interesting boxes. Not sure 100% if I'll be keeping the colors exactly as they are. But today we are going to turn this into more of a finished piece. So we've got our lamb chops in a box ideas here, which I think look cool. And then I also created kind of an interesting concept page of how we could present this to a client. So we can have the larger images of the boxed chops, chop boxes, I don't know, so that we could present this and show like a close-up of the detail and the work we've put into these boxes. But another thing that could be interesting to include to a client is if we created some sort of video game inventory bar of sorts to show how they might look like in a game. And this is clearly just sketches, scribbles, copy pastas, and some shapes. So we're gonna clean this up towards the end if we have time, which I think we will. But we're gonna dive into cleaning up our design first. So we've got this, which is going to translate over here into this interesting mock-up I've made for you. And I'm going to check, because I think I'm getting top secret messages. Let me just make sure everything is good. Okay, perfect. And I'm going to show you folks how this works. So if we can get, I think, boxed chops. Yes, very meaty, indeed. If we can get a link in the chat, I'm assuming, Cody, that you may still have our link that we need. Actually, I think I have the link. I believe this is the link. No, it was my Slack. Sorry, it's very loud. I'm actually going to leave it to you, Cody, just because I don't want to post the wrong link. But I have for you this Creative Cloud library that is shared with you, and you can download everything. So you can download the goals page, you can download the achievements, and then you can also download the little game mock-up I made. And what I'm going to do before we add things to this mock-up is I'm going to show you how I made it, okay? Because it's really actually, I won't say, it's not difficult to do, but there's a lot of steps to it, so I'm going to show you real quick. This is our game item that we've created, and originally I had some seriously painted textures in here, but I ended up cleaning it up for you folks just in case you want to use this but you don't want to use it for something that's illustrative. So we're gonna make it illustrative throughout the stream today, but it doesn't start out that way. And if you come over here to, for example, the box face piece here, you can double click and it will give you this face, this rounded edged face of our box. And if I want to give you an example here, I can make a new layer in this, and I can grab a color, and I can come in here and draw myself a little happy face and a heart, and I don't know, I'm just gonna do some stripy squiggles, okay? And then if I Control S or Command S to save that, then when I come back over here to my mockup, we have it, and it's also in perspective. And the way that I did this, let me go ahead and delete that. Actually, hold on, let me hide this and save it so we can have a blank piece. The way that I did this, for example, is I grabbed, to do the face of this, I grabbed my rectangle tool, drag out a rectangle, okay? I rounded the edges just a tad bit because I wanted it to have these interesting rounded edges. And then what I did is I converted this to a smart object. So I'm just gonna call this test real quick. And I right click this, convert it to smart object, and then I transformed it. So I am going to hold Control and Alt, and I'm going to grab this top corner, and I just kind of transformed it the way I saw fit. And you can come in and kind of do this however you like, if you'd like to make your own. But I just transposed it, just transformed it into the angle that I wanted. And then when I double click this, it opens it again, but it opens it without the free transform. So the free transform, the repositioning of it is only applied to that main file. But I can open it up, and I can come in here and I can, you know, use my brush again. If I make a new layer, I can use my brush again, and I can, oops, make a new one, B, and I can scribble around in here however I want. Control S or Command S to save, and then when I come back to my mockup, you can see that it applies it to that with the transform I put on it. So you don't have to free transform and reposition and alter anything in the mockup. You just have to double click on all of these layers to open them up. Now, let me go ahead and delete this. I have also, I'm just going to actually open these up. And I'm going to add something to them so you can see all the different regions that you have to edit. This is a very simple mock-up, honestly, but it gets the job done. So I also have one for the box bottom, and I'm gonna make a new layer, and I am going to scribble on this. Actually, we'll do straight lines, just so we can see the positioning of them. We'll go ahead and hit Control S, and come over here, and you can see there's some that go across the bottom. And then I also have the box side done. So if I make a new layer and do some lines, we'll come back over here after we save, and you can see that it's got lines for the side, which is very helpful, very useful. So I'm gonna delete all of these layers. And another thing that we can do too, let me go ahead and save all these. Save, save, and then I'm going to save and close them. Boom. Another thing that you can do as well in here, if you'd like, is you can add a filter to all of these layers if you like. So if I come over here above box body, I can add a color filter, which we will do. We can add a solid color if we want, or a photo filter, however we want to do it. I think maybe I will do a hue and saturation. We could do that, and we can create a clipping mask, just so that if I want to, I can come in here and I can change the colors nice and easy for these if I decide that I'd like to make it a different color. So maybe I want this box to be green, and then we can add another one. Actually, I probably wouldn't add another one to the box face. I might just add one to the background and the box body. And the reason why is because we can edit this entire face in the mock-up itself, so we don't really need to add a filter to it if we don't want. Let's create a clipping mask for that, and we can change the background of this if we decide that's what we want to do. So if you would like to download the file, you can. If you'd like to make your own from scratch, you can. You can do whatever you want. These files are all for you. And now we are going to kind of get in and edit this up. Now, one thing that you can do, this is something that I do sometimes when I'm working off of another file, and it doesn't really work because my monitor is not super large. I'm working on a Cintiq that's only 16 inches, but we could, if we wanted to, drag this over here, and I could, you know, look at my chops in a box and look at my mock-up if I wanted to, which is, you know, kind of works, and helps me keep an eye on things. I think it's maybe a little, well, no, maybe it's not a little too cramped. Let's just go ahead and do this. So I am going to drag my lamb chop into the box face. So I'm going to drag that in here. Go ahead and close my library. I'm going to flip horizontal, and I'm going to throw the chop in here, y'all. I'm going to go ahead and I think I need to turn it. And I'm going to clip everything to the shape. Let's go ahead and clip that. Create clipping mask. Boom. So I've got my chop. I might rotate this just a little bit more because we're going to put the lamb chops back there. So we've got our lamb chop in here. We need some text. So I'm going to go ahead and make a text layer if I can. Hold on, let me go ahead and... There we go. And I am going to use the Jeopardy. I think I'm going to use Jeopardy. And I'm going to look in here in my colors. I feel like I want this bright red color for this. So I'm going to go ahead and select this, open this, and I should be able to, yeah, there we go. Just go ahead and click my layer and then click on that red portion of this color palette and it should change it to red. I don't know if this is perfect the way I want it, but we're gonna try. I kind of want part of the L behind the lamb chop because I think that just adds an interesting amount of depth to this. So I'm gonna go ahead and rename this lamb chops. Lamb chops. We'll center this. Boom. Hey everyone, wow, that lamb chop is amazing. Thank you. This is actually an asset that we found on Adobe Stock yesterday. So I can't take credit for the lamb chop, only the ridiculous concept that we all kind of put our heads together and designed. So, lamb chops, we are going to, I think we're going to make this bold italic. I think that works. So we got lamb chops. I kind of feel like it should be larger, but I also don't want to lose the readability of it. So if I bump this down, like to here, I wonder if we rotate our chop. Yeah, it adds a little bit more readability to it. So we got lamb chops, and then we're gonna do our little burst graphic, but we wanna add our in a box. So I think we just wanna do the word in and then a box underneath it. So I'm going to make this a little larger. We are going to do heavy. And I think I might turn this to like a 100 maybe, because I want this to be larger. Lamb chops in, and then I'll duplicate that with Control or Command J, and I'm gonna write a box. A box. Boom. And also let me left align that. And I'm gonna just drag this out and make this larger. Now, when it comes to resizing fonts, I have a bad habit. I'm sure there's plenty of people in the chat today that do this, but I have a bad habit of when I want something to be a certain size, like I just want the text bigger, I will just straight up free transform my text. And then a good thing to do after you do that is to come in and kind of revamp the size. So if I put in a box, I kind of like the look of it being above this A, and then I look at the size of it, and so I resize this to like 55.0, so I'm just gonna round that out to 55, just so I don't have these strange like sizes for all of my stuff. So I'm gonna round this out to 144. Boom, and then lamb chops is at, we're gonna make that 61. And these, I think I could also maybe spend a little time making these not just wild, unrelated font sizes, but I'm not really worried about it for this project, to be honest. So, free transforming text, yeah, I know. Missed yesterday's design stream. Well, Umacorn, I'm glad you are here now. I could have sworn I saw you yesterday, but maybe it was just when I was modding the chat. That could be where it happened. So we've got our lamb chops in a box. We've got some serious readability issues happening here, but don't worry, we're going to fix that right after we make kind of a little starburst deal here. So I'm gonna grab my shape tool, which is just U. If you hit U on your keyboard, and I'm actually blocking it real quick, so I'll pop over here. If I right click my shape rectangle tool, I can come in here and grab a polygon tool. This is one way that we can do this. This doesn't have to be the full-on way that the only way that we do it, but this is just a, just a way that it can happen. Let me make a new layer, and I am going to drag out this polygon like so. And I am maybe gonna bring my properties panel over here for now. I am going to add some more faces to this. I'll do like a 12, and then I'm gonna pull the corners in like so. And I'm also going to maybe round the edges like that. And then I'll free transform it. So let's go ahead and Control T, Command T, and I'm going to make this little burst like this. I need to make it larger, just so there's, this burst shape like we have over here. And I suppose like that's very uniform. I don't know if that's 100% what we want, but it works, so I'll leave that there as like a concept. We'll go ahead and hit enter. And then another way that we can do this is I can just use the polygonal lasso tool if I want to. So I'm gonna go ahead and hide my text just so I can get a good look at this. I'm gonna turn my lamb chop opacity down so I can see what I'm doing here. And I'll make a new layer with Control Shift N, grab my polygonal lasso tool, which is just under your regular lasso tool in your bar over there. And what I can do is I can kind of look at the shape that I've got going on over here, relative to my lamb chop, and I could, if I wanted to, just go ahead and go like this. Okay. So we have a shape. I actually like this a little bit better, to be perfectly honest with you. And then we can grab a color from our color palette. I think I'm gonna mix some of the green in, and the reason why is because I have this white color in this other one. Oops. Oh no. Edit. Can I get my selection back? No, I sure can't, unless I just have it over here. Hold on. I think I just clicked. Yeah, there we go. I still have it. I just clicked into the other file. But I think I'm going to combine it because I have this light color over here, and I don't think that it works well. I'd like to be able to use the light color. Whoa! Someone's threatening my computer. I'd like to, instead of using the light color back here, I'd like to use some of the green just so some of the white or off-white colors look a little bit better, and I don't have to use this red because I don't think the red looks good. So let's come back over here. Let's grab some green. We'll see how that looks. Might work, might not work, but let's go ahead and throw that back there. And then we'll turn this back on. All of this. Let me deselect. Okay, we're getting there, we're getting there. Lamb chops in a box. Still gotta work on this readability, but we are going to convert this to a smart object. And then what we can do is I'm gonna add a stroke to it, I think that's what I'm gonna do. Or I could just make more layers of it, which might work better. Let's try it. I'm gonna double click. I'm gonna come into stroke, and I'm going to make this a little bit brighter and desaturated. Boom. Okay. And then I'm gonna actually make the stroke bigger. So let's increase the size. Yeah, I don't really like it because you see how it rounds the corners there on the inside points. I don't think that looks great. So I'm actually going to not have those effects, and I'm just going to make another shape underneath it. So let's make a new layer, grab my lasso tool, and I'm just going to go around. And then things can be uneven, and I don't think it's a bad thing for this to be uneven around the edges, like to have different weights. I think it kind of lends itself to this interesting style we've got going on here. If things are just slightly imperfect. So I'm gonna go with it. Boom. It doesn't matter if it's perfect where I can't see it. I'm not really worried about that. Boom. And then we will fill that with a color. Let's grab something more like this. It kind of overlaps underlaps with that chops there. That might be a good idea. It might not, but I think we're fine. I think we can work with it. Okay, so we've got our burst of lamb chops. Maybe I'll transform this and bring it down just slightly. That actually might work. That might work right there. Just to kind of, or maybe bring it all the way up. Now we're gonna bring it down. Boom. Okay, so we got our burst. Underlaps. It does. Am I wrong? It does underlap. And then we can kind of work on the readability with the color of our fonts here. Let me see what we're doing on time. Oh, we still have half the stream. This is perfect. We're doing good. So I'm going to highlight, actually not highlight, I'm just going to click in a box. I'm also going to bring these over here so that I don't have to have a split screen anymore because I don't think we need it. And I'm just going to click here, open my libraries, and select that as a font, or maybe this green color. I don't know. Let's see. What can we do? You can't read that very well, but I could read it if I added a stroke to these items and made them look a little bit different. So let's actually change these to the tan. Okay. Or maybe a color that's like in the chops. Let's see. I think it looks better if we choose a color from the chops. Boom. And I am going to select all of these, and I'm going to convert it to a smart object just so I have that all as one item. I'm going to double click and add a stroke. So we are going to go into stroke. I'm going to position that on the outside. I am going to select, what color are we going to use? We could use the red for now. Let's use the red. Go ahead and hit OK. I might bring the stroke down to like a 12. And this is what I want to do. So let's bring that to a 12. I'm gonna duplicate this. Go ahead and collapse these. I will turn the effects off of 1. Or we could actually color overlay. Let's go back into our effects. We could do a color overlay and change it to the same red color. Turn off the stroke. I'll say OK. I wonder, did I put that stroke on the inside or the outside? Outside. Okay, then I'm gonna leave the stroke on this one. Turn that stroke on. And what I can do is I can take this topmost one here. In fact, I'm going to transform both of them just to make them slightly stronger, smaller, not stronger. And then with this underneath one that is just, if I hide this one on top, it's just straight red. I can offset it. So if I free transform, I can just use my arrow keys to add like a bigger, almost like a drop shadow, you know, just to add like a thicker border around one side, which I think looks kind of cool. And I think you can read it very well now. So we have lamb chops in a box. I think maybe the green doesn't look as good, but we can change that. I'm going to select both of our bursts, and I'm going to convert. Can I convert these to smart object together? Yes, I can. And then I am going to Control U just to open my hue and saturation, and I can change the colors just a little bit. Yeah, something a little more gold. Maybe not so saturated. Maybe it can be more saturated. Yeah! So we didn't need to do green, but we also didn't need to do like that bright, bold color. I think that looks better. This is giving me Psychonauts 2 vibes. I don't think I've played Psychonauts. You like the thicker border? Yeah, just kind of giving it like a little bit of something on the side there. Keith, welcome in. Before yesterday, burst of lamb chops was not something I was expected to hear on Adobe Live. A burst of lamb chops is, I mean, what are you doing? What are you doing if not designing bursts of lamb chops? Come on, guys, come on. I love that you can grab colors right out of the palette in libraries. You can, and it's so great because it means that you can use it as you see it. And I don't know if that makes sense to anybody else but me, but being able to actually, like, instead of sampling from here, but you can see that each individual piece of this color palette, you can see that the color code comes up. So if I want this blue, I can click it. But if I want this blue, I can also click it. And it's like literally having an actual painter's palette with with me while I'm working in Photoshop, which is awesome. So I've got my lamb chops in a box. I think the top is very boring. I feel like we could do some more with this, but maybe we could spice it up, not with more elements, but with more texture. And my go-to thing when I do stuff like this, honestly, is to use the good old gradients and dissolve. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do that because it's one of my favorite things to do, and I feel like we should normalize people using the dissolve the dissolve blending mode. So let's grab a new layer. I'm gonna grab my gradient tool. I am going to grab, let's see. Let's grab a darker red. I think maybe a darker red would work better because then we can kind of give this some depth here. I don't know if we want it to be dark on the top. I'm not sure. Let's see. Let's make it slightly less dark. You can read the top font better, like the top text better, but I don't know if the box should be dark on the top, but that's fine. I'm gonna go ahead and turn this on to dissolve. Maybe we'll get a darker one and have that coming from there. And I'm gonna zoom in here and show you why I like to use dissolve. So the dissolve adds this very interesting texture to it. Oops, I added that to the same. Let me make a new layer and add that darker. So what dissolve does, I'm gonna grab black real quick and I'm just gonna explain this real quick. So when you use the dissolve blending mode, what it does is it like adds everything that you're putting down, but it adds it at 100% opacity. So if you can see, it's a gradient. It looks like a gradient, but it's actually at 100%, whereas on a regular blending mode, you would see the transparency of it. So if I switch to normal, you would see how it fades with transparent portions of the pixels. And I think that with the dissolve on, it's actually interesting when you merge them together. So I've got, it's pretty harsh. Let's go ahead and actually make a new one because I don't want it to be that dark. I really like the effect that you get when you have two layers on dissolve that you then merge together. So if I go ahead and add that, place that on dissolve, when you merge it, it's not at 100% opacity anymore. It kind of makes its own like little noise texture, which is cool. So if I merge that, then everything kind of softens out, but I still have that grain with it, which is fun. I really like it. So I'm also going to, I think, maybe grab some of this bright color, and we can throw that down here, maybe a little bit, just to, you know, do something in the back. It would probably be cool to do like a pattern as well, just to fill some of this empty space. Let me see if I can kind of zoom in and show you how this changes when I merge, because I'm going to merge all of these together now. So if I go like that, you see how it went from being like actual pixel grain to when I merge it, it's just like this nice subtle noise, which is, I think, looks cool. So we got our noise. We could also do this to the font if we want. So I could group this together and make a new layer and add a clipping mask. And I could select this dark color and go ahead and add some of this, maybe throw that on dissolve as well. And maybe I'll make another layer, and I'm just gonna grab this same color that's here. Oops. Make sure I have that on a clipping mask. And we'll just go down this way. I don't know if that's gonna look good with that in there, but we're gonna find out. This could be a bad idea. And then I wonder if we put this on another blending mode. know if I like that. But I'm not gonna sweat it. I'm gonna leave it like that for now because it kind of adds an interesting gradient to everything. I think normally I would spend more time cleaning that up and doing some fancy things with it, but I'm not gonna worry about it right now. I might not even worry about the top here, just because I want to be able to do some other things before we take off today, but I think that this is still cool. So I'm gonna go ahead and save, and we were working in the mock-up with this, so when I come back to the game mock-up, ta-da! We have a portion of our video game item created, lamb chops in a box. It adds, fills up 75% health. It's a very hefty item to find out on your adventure. I think the only thing that would heal you in this fictional game to 100% health would be ice cream in a box. Or something else ridiculous that you wouldn't keep in a box. Although I do think they actually have ice cream in a box. But this is like a cereal box kind of shape, and that's not where you would find ice cream or lamb chops. So, texture is one of my favorite things. Me as well, Paloma, me as well. Ta-da! You guys like my ta-da? You guys always comment on that. Alright, so we can also do the side of the box and the bottom of the box. And one of the things that I wanted to do is Clever Devlin actually gave us some text yesterday. If I jump over here, Clever posted this in the chat and I wanted to use it. And I don't know if we are going to straight up make like a side label, but I think that we can still do something that looks cool on the side of the box, even just something that's like concept-y. So I'm gonna double click into box side. This is very thin, but it's okay. I am going to drag out a text box. Boom. I'm going to Control V to paste, and I'm going to make this a much smaller font. We're going to make this like a 9. And we're going to, oops. I don't know why I did that. I think I pressed enter and moved it all around. Let's paste that again. Turn it to like a 9 point. I'm gonna center it. Am I gonna center it? I don't think that looks good. Maybe I need to make this smaller. I can make it smaller if I want. Go down to like a, yeah. It's gonna hyphenate a bunch of stuff. I'm not gonna sweat it. I'm not. I'm just gonna go ahead and let it be. I'm also going to change the color of the font. So let's come in here and let's grab like a, like this tan color, which you can't see. I'm actually going to, let's unfill this just so I can see what I'm doing here. I don't design a lot of sides of boxes, so what I'm gonna do, just to make it look like it's a package, is I'm actually just going to add some shapes and things that resemble like box elements from the side. So I'm just gonna put this and just kind of concept this out. And I realize that that might be very strange to do, but you know, we have a limited amount of time for our streams, so I think it's fine if we just kind of do a little bit of, you know, a little bit of concepting rather than actually designing a label. So let's put a stroke on it like that. Let's crank that stroke down. Boom. And I am going to make another box. It's kind of weird, but I think it's fine. Just so we have something on the side of the box that looks like it could be a label. And I'm just holding Control with my move tool selected, and I'm just dragging this down. And then we will add another box down here. And I'm just gonna leave it like that. So it looks like we've got like the start of some kind of label down here. That's good enough for me. It doesn't have to be fancy in my opinion. I'm gonna go ahead and save it. I'm gonna turn this rectangle off though. I'll save it. And then we're gonna look at our mock-up. Yeah, you know, it's a little bright. In fact, I might come over and group all of this. Group it. I'm going to select this color. Grab my paint bucket, and I'm gonna come over to it and paint bucket that in, and I'll just turn that on a lower opacity just to make it dark over there on the side. What are we doing on time? We've got about 10 minutes left, so I think we're okay. I don't think we're gonna have time to make things look like it's actually in a video game, but we do have time to finish our actual final concept for our item. So with that saved, I'll come back over to the mockup, and it just, you know, it just looks like there's something over there. Maybe we can even darken that up a little bit more because I want it to be not totally visible. Maybe we can put a gradient on it instead of just darkening the whole thing. So I can go like this. And I realized maybe this could be considered like kind of a lazy way to do this, but I mean, we're doing like a video game concept. It doesn't have to be perfectly 100% like store accurate. Maybe that gradient is a little too harsh. Yeah, there you go. Perfect. So now it just looks like there's, you know, there's some box information over there, you know, and it's kind of descending into shadow, and we can do the same thing over here. So I'm going to snag this darker color here, and I'm going to click box bottom, and we can kind of do the same thing here. So we can make a barcode. Let's make a barcode. Oops, that is a gradient. I was wondering why it needed me to make a new layer. There we go. Let's grab that. And then I'm going to duplicate that, and I'm going to turn that fill to a dark red, and then we will transform it. Or I could just go back to my shape tool so that I can edit this properly. I'm gonna hold V on my, or press V on my keyboard to access my move tool, and then I can just hold Alt and Shift and just keep dragging this out. This is a barcode. This is a barcode concept, okay? Bear with me. And we're just gonna have this underneath on the bottom of our box. Boom. And then we could add another, if I group all this stuff together, we could add another bit of text, or we could just add some lines to symbolize text. So maybe there's like a title, and then we can make a long skinny one too. Let me hide this. So there's just something. I'll go back to my move tool and duplicate again. And then maybe I'll just put a circle, because maybe there's like a recycle something right there. And that's good enough for me. Let's grab our gradient tool. How are we doing on time? We're doing fine. And let's, over the top of all this, let's also throw a gradient. Let me snag colors, grab this dark color. And let's save and come over to our mockup. Yeah, okay, so, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be like this fancy, amazing thing that has perfect designs on the side. This is a concept, but I think that looks believable. It shows you what it is. I think it works. So there's my lamb chops in a box. And while we still have a few minutes left, we have an award ceremony to do. Hello, I had a heck of a time getting in. I was on time. Oh no! Oh no, I'm so sorry that you had such a hard time getting in here. Shouldn't this be about Adobe stock? Well, we are on the second day of a two-part thing, and we did do Adobe stock stuff. So a lot of these things that we found, we went to Adobe's resource sites and we found assets on Adobe stock. We went and found color palettes on Adobe Color, and then we went to Adobe fonts and found some great fonts to use for our project. And then we spent most of today kind of combining those into a funny project, creating a mock-up and altering that mock-up and just making something fun. So I give you lamb chops in a box, which is our video game item. And now in our last moments, I'm going to show you folks what the achievements page is all about. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. And like I said earlier, I've been keeping track of the goals that I have for my project every time we do this show, but our achievements is very important because I like to do this just to give myself and you, if you'd like to download this page and do it for yourself, a visual representation of the progress that we make each day in our creative journey, so that we can see the wonderful things that we do instead of feeling as if we don't complete something perfectly and have an incredible portfolio piece done and ready to share at the end of every creative piece that we do, that we haven't made much progress. So I am going to award myself some achievement points so you folks can see how it's done, and hopefully you will kind of get why I do it and why it's so important. So in the category of illustration, I feel that I did some pretty cool mock-up images yesterday when I was doing our concepts. I feel like they might not be perfect illustrations, but I felt like I was able to get in there and sketch out exactly what I wanted to do and get the point across, and I had a lot of fun doing it. So I'm going to go ahead and throw a new point into illustration, because I feel like I did a good job concepting out my stuff. I'm also going to give myself a point into graphic design, because I feel like I created a mock-up and made my own little box and stuff. And I don't do this often, but when I do, I feel like I should give myself more credit, because it's not something I enjoy doing, creating little mock-up files and making mock-ups from scratch. I really don't like to do it, but I feel like I did one. And this is the first time I've ever made a mock-up with something that has rounded corners instead of just straight up box shapes. Like I feel like I impressed myself with this cute shape that I got going on, with multiple editable sides and things. So I feel like I deserve a point for graphic design. I feel like I did a good job, and I'm gonna add another one because I like my actual box design overall, like my lamb chops in a box. And for working on something for like 2 hours or less than 2 hours only, I feel like I got a substantial amount done, and I feel like I should appreciate that I was able to do that. We didn't do animation or video editing. Perhaps we shall do that in one of our future episodes, but I'm also going to throw one into presentation, and I'm throwing it into presentation because I feel like I could have just designed the front of the box. I could have just designed just a flat design of the lamb chops in a box, and it would have been fun and funny for people to see, but I wanted it to be presented in a 3D space so that I could show somebody almost like a physical object, and making that decision to put something into perspective, which is also something I struggle with sometimes, is just placing my designs into perspective instead of flat design, I feel like deserves some kudos. So I still need to create like a presentation piece for this, but as you can see, even though I didn't end up with something that belongs in my portfolio just yet, I still made progress. I still did things that will help me moving forward, and I deserve to give myself some kudos for that. I do have to take off. I don't want to get cut off, but thank you all so much for joining me today. You are wonderful. I will see you later today. I'll be modding in the chat. Please stay tuned for all of the awesome segments we have coming up after me today, and I will see you folks later.